Malayalam cinema is the best and Bollywood sucks. That's a narrative that has become quite popular in the recent times, but it definitely lacks nuance. Not every film made in Bollywood is bad, and not every film made in Malayalam cinema is good. But there is a clear distinction between the qualities of both of them. And today we have two films from each industry which proves why that is the case. So let's break it down. Hello guys, I'm Nona Prince and today we are doing a comparison between Loka Chapter 1 Chandra, the Malayalam film, with the Bollywood horror comedy film Thama, and we'll analyze why one feels way superior than the other. Now, a big disclaimer, comparisons are always unfair. It's never apples to apples. But in this case, we actually have two films which have a lot of similarities, and you can actually do the apple versus apple comparison. Now, I'll not get into the plot comparison between them. Both are telling a very different story. With Loka, they're setting up their own universe and a franchise. It's the first film of that. And Thama is already a part of a movie universe and is taking it ahead. And I think that is much harder than setting up a new one, as we have learned from our experiences with Marvel and DC over the years. But the comparison will be about the storytelling choices both the films made. How did they challenge themselves and the audiences by making a very different film, which is very new for Indian cinema? How did they use the filmmaking tools available to them? Did they push the boundaries with it? How did they blend their ambition with the execution? And both these films had the opportunity to do something special. And while one excels at it, the other one takes the easy route. Now, with all of that aside, let's begin. But do note, moving forward, there would be minor spoilers for both the films. You have been warned. The first point of comparison is novelty versus formula. Now, both films are actually telling a vampire story. Both are part of a bigger universe, but there's a big difference on how they approach it. Now, with the Bollywood film Thama, because it's part of a bigger horror comedy universe, that's what they're calling it. It is part of the world of Stree, Bhedia and Munjia, and they decided to keep the new film Thama also in line with those films. But the problem is, it just didn't work. The comedy felt very forced. There was no horror at all, and over that they even added item numbers to it. Not one, not two, three of them. Now, when you come to Loka, first of all, the whole vampire angle was a surprise. They never revealed it in any marketing. They only teased it as a superhero film. We had no idea that our main character Chandra would turn out to be a vampire, and it is a big surprise in the film. That is again a choice that they went for. They could have easily marketed it as a vampire film, but they didn't. And the reason for that comes from the implementation of it. They keep you guessing. Nothing is, told to us at the start, and that creates suspense. That creates excitement, and that's why Loka becomes a much more refreshing watch. Over that, it is a female-led film. That is again a choice. For a Malayalam film, spending 30-35 crores on a film is huge. In comparison to other industries, it may appear to be nothing, but for them, spending that much money on a female-led film who's not one of the biggest stars, it was a big risk. When they wanted to make the film, there was an option to change the gender, make it a male-led film. It make more sense to spend so much money on that. But the maker said no, we'll focus on her story. We will tell this story itself. That's a bold choice they made, and it worked because it was very refreshing. We have never seen something like this. Whereas with Thama, it is all about the male hero. Yes, you have a female character, which I'll come to later, but it's a typical hero film that he will get the powers, he will become the strongest, he will save the day, which we have seen millions of times. Now, I have to say, Thama is made by Maddock Films, which are considered to be one of the best production house in Bollywood, because they are the one who are experimenting, who are doing something unique and different, and it shows in their work. They made a film like Stree, which was so popular, it was so good. Instead of casting big actors, they casted the right actors for the right roles and made them popular. And the proof of that is when Abhishek Banerjee's character shows up in Thama as a cameo, he gets the loudest cheer because people love his character. It's not about the actor. With Stree 2, they could have brought a big actor in the film, and they did, but just as a cameo. But the film was still about those characters and actors. A movie like Munjia, the focus is a CGI character, and they casted newcomers for it. And it is an expensive film to make. To have a CG character throughout your film is not easy to do, but they made the right casting choice, and it worked. So they have a history of being different, always trying different things, challenging the norms that Bollywood has. But with Thama, I could see a pattern now. What has worked in their previous films of this universe, they're repeating it here. It has become a formula. Like, you're literally marketing a vampire film where there is a Bhedia also, and they fight, and there's so much content to talk about, but the way you're marketing the film is the item songs. And I don't have the problem with item songs. It is part of Indian cinema. We have been doing it for many years, and when it is done right, it works. In Stree 2, there's also an item number song with Tamanna Bhatia, but it is part of the plot. It is happening to draw out the villain, so it makes sense to have it. And also, she's not any random lady who has come to dance. They create a connection for her with another character, and that's why it works. But in Thama, it doesn't. It is just done for marketing. You remove those sequences and it changed nothing. And even if you're using them for marketing, it's just cheapening your film. People are talking about those songs instead of the film. That is the problem. And them doing this tells me that they lack confidence either in the film itself or in the audience, that we need to give them all these elements because they will not understand this kind of film. It's very new for them. And if Loka had that same mentality, it wouldn't be a great film because they trusted that the audience will get it. They respected that the audience have brains to understand the film. Now let's come to point number 2, the visual design of the film. Now again, both the films have similarities here. Both are going for that neo-noir, a lot of neon lights. I guess because vampires, they always stay in the night and you want, different lighting for it. That is the reason behind it. But again, there's a clear distinction between the way they use it in the film. In Thamma, it's just there for the aesthetic value. Oh, it will look cool, that's it. Whereas in Loka, they implement it in the sequences. There are scenes where the neon light is put on the characters and it's saying something more. They're trying to create a mood out of it. It is also a characteristic of the city they live in. They don't mention it in the film that it's Bangalore, but you get the idea of it because they wanted to go for a cosmopolitan city where different cultures are there, where there's a nightlife because of the story they're telling. And all of that is very much part of the story. They needed to be in that place. And comparison in Thamma, they say Delhi, but it could be any place. It didn't matter at all. There are literally 3 or 4 outdoor shots. That's it. And apart from that, it's all the jungle, which we have no idea where the jungle is. It could be anywhere. There's no geography explained in the film. And it's not that you need to specify the geography and tell us every moment where the characters are, but it's about how you're using the place and the locations in your storytelling, which is definitely missing in Thamma. Now, the kind of films these are, you want to create some spectacle. You want to create moments that, live in your head for a long, long time. And there are multiple of them with Loka, but sadly, none for Thamma. Apart from the sequence of Bhedia versus the vampire fight they show, which is kind of a blur in my head, but there were some really cool moments they created there. Something which we have never seen before, at least in Indian cinema. And that's the only reason it stands out. But otherwise, there's no visual that stays in your head. And with Thamma, the first scene of the film, the whole animation title sequence, the first time Chandra looks at Sunny, the introduction of the villain, the first fight sequence behind the cafe, the whole interval sequence, then the dream sequence. I can name so many. They're so iconic. And Thamma, nothing. Now, talking about visual design, Loka also uses visuals to make you laugh. That's the humor. Through the editing, through the camera composition. Chandra is revealed to be a vampire and then Sunny arrives there. He looks at her. The camera is just on him. Nothing is happening. And he just falls over and it makes you laugh. In the dream sequence, Chandra tells Sunny not to run. It's in a close-up. Cut to a wide angle shot of the city and Sunny is running, shouting, "Help me." That makes you chuckle. And over that, there's so many character moments, so many dialogues that make you laugh because they are more relatable. Now, in Thamma, they've literally used expired memes in their dialogue to make you laugh. They're forcing us to laugh. See, this joke, this meme which is very popular, viral. Remember? Now laugh. See, our character said that. The only humor that was actually working was a situational humor where everyone thinks the character has died, but he has come back and his father is suspicious of him. Or when he turns vampire, how his father reacts. But other than that, all the humor felt so forced that they're writing jokes for the characters to deliver, and most of it didn't land at all. And I'm talking about a film which is being called horror comedy. Point number 3 of comparison, the cultural lore. Now again, both films are taking the concept of vampires, which is a very Western concept. We have seen so many films in Hollywood about it, but both the films root that concept in their own culture, which is a really good thing. But again, in Loka, it is done so cleverly. As I said before, first of all, we didn't even know she's a vampire, and the way the reveal happens, you are surprised by it, you are intrigued. Now I am saying that as a person who's not from Kerala, and it still worked for me, but for people in Kerala, they know that this reveal is actually taken from their own folklore. We get to know that Chandra is actually Neeli, which in the folklore is a vampire or Yakshi who people in Kerala have heard stories about in their whole life, and that was a big surprise for them. And that's what the whole universe is gonna be. All the folklores or the things they have grown up listening to, they're using all of it to create a universe. Now in Thamma, they are not vampires but Betals, and they connect it to the lore of Ma Durga and Rakt Beach, which is again a good way to ground it in your own culture. But there is nothing more to it. It is just an exposition dump for the audiences. It never ties into the plot. It has no connection with any of the characters. It is just an explanation of who they are. That's it. And that's why you never feel the gravity of it. You don't understand how it all works. What is their community? Who are these people? How do they interact with each other? What's the situation? Why do they live in the forest? Why don't they go out? Why don't they interact with humans? They do reveal why they don't drink human blood, and even that reason, the way they explain it feels like I'm a 5-year-old kid watching the film. That's how the film treats you. The point is, even if you remove the cultural lore from the film, nothing really changes. The events will still unfold the way they did, and that is the problem. Now, point number 4, let's talk about the female character. Now, we have to note here that the main protagonist of Loka is a female character, whereas in Thama, she's a supporting character. So we cannot really compare. But the supporting character in Loka, who's a male, is very well written, has stakes, has consequences, and we connect to that character. We know who he is. But that is not the case with the supporting character of Thama. Forget that. Even the main protagonist of the film, the writing of the character is so weak, there's nothing to him. You don't know who he is, what he believes in, what he likes, what he doesn't like, what the conflicts are. There's no arc for it. He's any other character Ayushmann has played before. In Loka, we get to know about Chandra, where she comes from, how she became a vampire, what she lost. There's a sadness to her throughout because she has to keep, leaving people behind and go on. She is immortal, and that has consequences. She gave a promise to her dying mother that she'll use her powers for the good. And she is a badass. She doesn't need saving. She's the one who saves the day. Now, I'm not saying that should have been Rashmi's character also. Not at all. And even Thama, the way we start with her character, she's really strong. She saves the hero. She is powerful. But that's it. There's nothing more to her. She just ends up becoming a caretaker for the hero throughout the film. Her only job is to, save the hero. Protect him. That's it. Who she is, what she believes in, what she wants, what she doesn't want. Like, you don't get to know anything about her other than that. They do use the idea that she has been living in the forest. She's unaware of the outside world and, the modern world. And they also try to use humor with it. But again, just few moments. That's it. And the supporting character in Loka, played by Naslin, we know so much about Sunny. He has left a job. He's just enjoying his life, wasting his money and his parents' money. He just had a breakup. By the end of that film, we know his character, which is not the case in Thama at all. And from that, let's come to point number 5, the romance, which is present in both the films and dealt with so much difference. Now, Thama was marketed as a love story. If you look at this film, it is the backbone of the film. If that love story doesn't work, the film doesn't work, and that is the case. In Loka, that is not even the main case. It's not even, directly out that they fall in love. It's subtle, it's nuanced. The first time they see each other, there is something, but later we find out what is that something. There's a backstory angle to it, that she had fallen in love with someone who looked like him many years ago. And again, even with that, they don't show that they've again fallen in love and they're together. No, they don't go into that typical love story way. They don't kiss each other. At the end of the film, there's just one hug, that's it. Whereas in Thama, it becomes an eternal love story just because. That's it. There's no reason to it, because he's the hero, she's the heroine. Of course, they'll fall in love forever. Like for Ayushmann's character, okay, I can understand. He's a man. We are hopeless romantics. He saw a beautiful girl and he fell in love. I can still, understand that. But why is she, a Betal who's super powerful, falling in love with the human? What is the connection? And the reason the film gives, because she met a human after a long time and his heart was beating. That's what attracted her to, like, come on, which century are we living in? Like, literally, they don't share any movement, there's no vulnerability where it makes sense that why they are coming together, why they're getting attracted to each other. It's constantly she saving him. And the story had potential to develop something that, makes sense why they are getting in love, or, what's the reason for it. But it doesn't get into that at all. They met, they are together running away, the song has come in, they have fallen in love. And literally it felt so cringe, the way Ayushmann Khurrana is trying to throw himself on her. And that is romance for them. You're literally calling a film a love story. The whole plot, works, only the love story works. And you have clearly not put in effort and thought how to do it. Again, the mentality that if we show this, it's enough for the audiences. Why to put in more effort, more detailing? These are all the reasons why Malayalam cinema is praised so much. Because they take the risk. They want to do something different. They want to challenge themselves. They want to challenge the audiences. And Bollywood keeps getting criticized because they just want to play safe. They just want to do the formula thing which has worked, let's do it again. Always taking the easy route. Now there's lots more to the blockbuster success of Loka, which I've talked about in this video. 5 reasons why it became the biggest Malayalam film ever, and what can Bollywood and other industries learn from it. Now this was a long video. I hope you liked it. Do let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you have your own points? Until then, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.